There's something missing from our world. Beings of the past, forgotten by time for 65 million years. While it might seem that their only legacy is bone, there is one place where they still roam. For the first time in millions of years, dinosaurs have been given new life in the world of cinema. And their presence has changed the world as we know it. And with this, their incredible legacy continues on. They've awed us. They've frightened us. And they've inspired us. These are the true titans of cinema.
Okay, so welcome to Dinosaurs, Titans of Cinema. My name is Thomas Goss, and I am an amateur filmmaker, and I'm also a student at Santa Fe College's Digital Media Technology program, and I also work at the Florida Museum of Natural History. And if you couldn't tell by all that, my two favorite things are dinosaurs and filmmaking. Those two things have been a huge part of my life for a very long time, and they have kind of defined the person I am in a lot of ways. So I'm going to go over some of that stuff about myself and my own work as a filmmaker. And then we're going to show you guys a nice, fun video about the history of dinosaurs in cinema, because there's a lot to talk about that. So, for starters, I have loved dinosaurs since I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I would often play with my toys and everything like that. And I would kind of use my eyes as like a camera angle, and basically would try and imagine them if they were if I was filming them, like filming a documentary or something, like Walking with Dinosaurs. That was just what I did all the time, and that was kind of like how I got into filmmaking. That's kind of when I realized I wanted to tell stories, and I wanted to show the stories to other people, and that was kind of like what started that. And actually, I got a job at the Florida Museum because I was making movies there. Like, I actually was making prehistoric films there, and they kind of then hired me for training videos, and they saw I had a good work ethic, so they hired me for a job there, which was awesome. And so, in my movies, I kind of started, like I said, with the toys, and in those times, I basically would take the toy and I would essentially just shoot it, and I would shoot different angles and everything, and I would edit it together into a film. And then what actually happened is that I got a green screen. My parents saw that I was interested in film, and they bought me one of those. And essentially what happened is that whenever my friends would come over, I would always have them running in front of the green screen, and they would essentially act like they were running away from a dinosaur. And then we would actually, I would just take another footage of my toy, chasing after them, and I would edit it together. And it was really cheesy, but it was fun, and it kind of what led me to where I am now. So that's pretty cool. And then also I've done some stop motion. That was kind of how I kind of advanced with that. I basically started taking the process of a stop motion is essentially when you take a photo, and then you will have an object there, and you move it a little bit, take another photo, and when you play them all fast, it looks like you got something moving. And you'll learn a lot about that in the next few minutes as we have up this presentation, and you're going to see some really cool stuff with that. And also some stuff for a film I made, which has that little model down in there. And then also, I recently got into animating with CGI. That animation down there of a T-Rex is actually something I made myself in Blender. That was done a few weeks ago now. Basically, I made that T-Rex model from scratch. I painted it, rigged it, animated it, did all that kind of stuff. And that's essentially kind of what they do in Jurassic Park and those kind of movies nowadays. They have things that they have in a 3D software, and they'll animate them and create them. And they essentially then put them into films, which is what I've been getting into recently. And of course, I'm animating dinosaurs. So I make my movies when I actually will come up with an idea, and I'll either write a script or I'll draw some concept art out, and then I'll go off and I will film it with some actors or friends, and then basically I'll bring the footage back. And if I want to add effects, we will basically take some stop motion stuff in a studio, and I'll basically animate it in front of a green screen. Or if I want to do CGI, I'll do what you guys just kind of saw, where I animate it in the computer and then bring it right into my editing software. And as you can see down there, That is what I work with whenever I go to make movies. It's a mess of a timeline, but it's kind of how movies are when they're in the editing room. And yeah, that's pretty much a little bit about what I do as a filmmaker. And I am most certainly not the only person that has been inspired by dinosaurs, because they have been a huge inspiration for so many filmmakers over the years, and they kind of led different special effect revolutions. And you're about to see that in this little video I put together about their history. So I hope you enjoy that, and please forgive me for my very bad narration. So, but yeah, let's get that pulled up.
Dinosaurs have always fascinated us, and even when they were first discovered, it wasn't long before scientists and artists began to make reconstructions of them in the form of paintings and sculptures. While many of them feature incredibly outdated depictions of dinosaurs, they are impressive pieces of art nonetheless. As beautiful and fascinating as these works may be, the dinosaurs in them are still frozen in place, just as they had been for 65 million years. But all of that changed with the invention of film. In the early 1900s, a young man named Willis O'Brien had a vision. He imagined taking a posable figure and using film to make it move with no strings attached. O'Brien and other animators around the world developed what has come to be known as stop motion, which is where a posable figure has a picture taken of it, and then is moved slightly and has another picture taken. When the process is repeated enough and the photos are played back fast enough, it gives the illusion of a moving creature. With this new invention, it finally became possible for filmmakers to make monsters in their movies. And the first ones to make it to the big screen were the dinosaurs. In the 1925 film, The Lost World, Willis O'Brien brought the first ever cinematic dinosaurs to life with his stop motion. Following in his footsteps was his protege, Ray Harryhausen, and inspired by both of them were artists like Phil Tippett. These masters of their craft brought stop-motion dinosaurs to life for almost 70 years. And during that time, they were the most realistic monsters ever seen on screen. These animators also made it possible for all manner of creatures to come to life in movies. They made aliens, robots, mythical beasts, and giant monsters feel more alive than they ever had. And none of this would have been possible if it weren't for the dinosaurs and animators behind films like The Lost World and the 1933 King Kong. While animatronics, suitmation, and puppets have all come and gone as special effect methods over the years, stop motion has remained the longest running and most timeless form of animation. And from the 1920s all the way to the end of the 1980s, it remained the primary art form to portray larger-than-life creatures in film. But the days of stop motion were numbered. At the start of the 1990s, Universal Studios got permission from author Michael Crichton to make a film adaptation of his newest book, Jurassic Park. Steven Spielberg, a well-renowned director in Hollywood, who had made films such as Jaws, E.T., and Indiana Jones, was brought on to direct the project. To bring the dinosaurs to life, Spielberg hired well-known stop-motion animator Phil Tippett, who had past experience with animating dinosaurs himself, and had also worked on films like Star Wars and RoboCop. What you are looking at right now are some of Tippett's earliest test animations for the film. This is how Jurassic Park's dinosaurs were going to look, as they were brought to life using the same stop-motion techniques that had been used for decades. But fate had other plans. During production, Spielberg was reached out to by Industrial Light and Magic with early animation tests of a brand new technology called CGI. The tests were mind-blowing for the time, and so convincing that Spielberg backtracked and decided to bring the dinosaurs to life with this new technology. And the rest, as they say, is history. Jurassic Park blew audiences away in 1993 and quickly became the highest-grossing film of all time. The film featured the first ever CGI creatures, and the technology began a revolution of visual effects, which allowed for all future movies to create any sort of creatures, assets, or environments they desired within the computer. The only limit to filmmaking was now the filmmaker's imagination. The world of cinema and visual effects was changed forever. And it was all thanks to the cinematic visionaries behind Jurassic Park. The stop-motion animators that pioneered special effects and inspired those visionaries. And the world of dinosaurs that sparked the imagination in all of us.